Alberta Primetime with Michael Higgins.
Welcome to Alberta Primetime. Ahead tonight, our politics panel on the provincial government launching a probe into Calgary's water system woes. But first, a winning bid for playing host to the world.
Just imagine what it will feel like to watch Team Canada take back its rightful place as champions of international men's hockey right here in front of Albertans in our own backyard.
The Premier among the many on hand for Monday's announcement that Scotia Place in Calgary and Rogers Place in Edmonton will host the 2028 World Cup of Hockey in North America, while Prague, Czechia is the European host. The Alberta government committing $15 million for the bid, while the federal government throwing in up to $8 million. And joining us now to discuss this and more is the Mayor of Edmonton, Andrew Knack, one of those up on stage with the Premier on Monday. Mayor Knack, good to see you, sir. Welcome back.
Great to see you. Thanks for having me.
All right, something like 25 North American and European cities in the running for this. What in your estimation, put the joint Edmonton-Calgary bid at the top of the pile?
Well, I think there's a few things. Obviously, having that joint connectivity between Edmonton and Calgary is important. I think that shared ownership over this responsibility was a great way to convince the NHL, the NHLPA, and all of our partners to be involved. You know, pulling my Edmonton hat on specifically, Edmonton is the #1 host city in Canada for major sporting events. We're number 22 in the world. So this is what we do. This is what we've been doing for so many years. And so to me, it's no shock that we would be chosen in partnership with Calgary to host this major event.
Was it a joint bid all along?
Yeah, early on, we know the Premier had talked about this, that she posed that idea, and then we were talking about it. So really, it's been joint bid for quite some time, and I think that's really exciting. And again, it's a great way to showcase our entire province, the two biggest cities, and just bring everyone across this province together for what is going to be one of the best events in 2028.
Well, and the pinnacle of this particular event, so from maybe your city's standpoint, how preferable is it to have the semifinal and final games?
Well, I'm real excited about that, because at that point, you've got the best of the best of the best who are going to be playing here in Edmonton. So I know it's going to be huge for our city. We always do a great job with these mega events, but cannot wait to see the best talent in the world in Rogers Place playing the semifinals and finals.
Your two cities kicking in $2.5 million each, but how important is it that the provincial and federal governments are putting taxpayer dollars toward this?
It is important because, again, we know the province has really been leaning into the tourism economy. They've seen so much value and an increase in support and an increase in tourism to this province. And even from the federal government side, tourism is becoming a pretty big industry. And it's something why in the city of Edmonton, during our last budget, we invested $11 million additional into Explore Edmonton so they can further attract more large-scale events where they can build on the momentum we've already been seeing. This is an economic driver. The amount of hotel stays, the restaurants that are going to benefit, the retailers that are going to benefit from this. This is one of those situations that, yes, it's taxpayer money, but you see a significant return to your local economy, far outweighing the money being put into it.
Well, and on that point, how realistic is it for Alberta to realize a projected economic impact of $375 million, and some suggesting maybe even above that? How far do you see that reaching?
Well, it's a huge piece. And I mean, we know that tourism agencies across, I think, the world use the same sort of calculator, if you will, to determine economic value. But I think at the end of the day, you can just sort of do the math, which is that you think about how many people are going to travel here. Certainly, we're going to have a lot of local folks attending these, but to see the best in the world, we know that's going to attract folks from across this province, across the country, and even internationally. And so everyone that's coming, they're not coming for one night and leaving. They're going to be coming for multiple nights. That's really beneficial to the hoteliers, who are often a little slower during the winter months. It's going to benefit our local restaurants, which again can sometimes be a little slower right after Christmas and that winter sort of break. So I think those numbers are, whether it's exactly that number or it's a little bit more, even if it was a little bit less, it's still giant economic return for our city and for this entire province.
On the point of the two cities welcoming international visitors, not to mention international media exposure will surely come with that as well. But what will be on Edmonton's shoulders when it comes to putting the best face forward?
Well, I think it's going to be continuing to do what we've always been doing. Edmonton is one of the best host cities in the world. We know how to showcase our city. We know how to welcome people from across the world. We do it all the time here. Groups like Explore Edmonton have been doing phenomenal work in that. And that's why, I'm excited. But you've seen the parties. Here's some of the footage from, during the Stanley Cup runs. We know how to put on a party. We're going to be doing it safely for all of our visitors, but it's going to be a long party where so many people benefit from.
As a municipality, what do you prioritize between now and 2028? What will need to be finished, in place, ready to go by that point?
Well, I think what's great for Edmonton is we already have everything we need in place. I mean, Calgary's obviously finishing their new arena, and so that needs to be finished. And we heard yesterday quite clearly that that will be done and ready to go. But we already have the arena. We have the infrastructure. We've hosted long playoff runs into the Stanley Cup finals. So we even know from a security perspective, we know how to do that. We know how to respond for activation, not just in and around Ice District, but across the city. And so that's what it's going to be. Continue sort of treating this almost like the Stanley Cup finals, because that's the level of energy and excitement that will be here with a few more international visitors than maybe we might get during our local Stanley Cup runs.
Yeah, you had municipal, provincial, federal politicians all up there on stage together celebrating the announcement. Lots of smiles. How comfortable a conversation was that? Was there a unifier there?
I think there is, right? And again, there's always going to be different issues we disagree on, whether it be with the provincial or federal government. But I think one thing we can all agree on is hockey, on sports and tourism and the economic benefit of tourism, right? This is not just a fun event for people to enjoy, which it is. This is about an economic driver for our cities, for our province, for our country. And I think it's great to see that alignment across all orders of government, because we understand the importance of that. And we need to continue to work on that in this ever-changing world. Let's continue to attract people from across the world to showcase what makes this country so incredible, and very selfishly, what makes Edmonton one of the best cities in the world.
All right, Mr. Knack, Mayor, we'll have to leave it there. Appreciate your time as always. Thank you kindly.
Thank you very much.
Andrew Knack is the Mayor of Edmonton. From the Smith government stepping up investigations into Calgary's water woes to Alberta's dual practice health plan under pressure and a winning bid for the World Cup of Hockey. Time now for tonight's politics panel. And joining us this evening, Chaldeans Mensah, newly retired political science faculty member at MacEwan University, and Jim Groom, political scientist, recently retired from Medicine Hat College. Good evening to you both. And let's begin with the Alberta government triggering a third-party investigation into Calgary's ongoing water main woes.
When it comes to municipal affairs, Calgarians would agree that this is a crisis. It is a failure of the most core and basic services of a municipality. And this is the normal process. And anyone that wants to try and distract from this or say that it's some sort of political stunt should really just talk to Calgarians living their day-to-day lives.
The probe will be headed by David Goldie, a former chair of Alberta's energy regulator, and he will have the power to compel documents and witnesses similar to a public judicial inquiry. The investigation expected to cost $1.2 million. With a final report due by the fall, the government says it needs a full accounting of the crisis to prevent it from happening again. Chaldeans, in the wake of Calgary City Hall's report into the 2024 water main failure, how warranted is the need for a provincial probe of this nature?
Well, David, I think it's warranted. This thing has been going on since 2004 when the water main feeder broke. I think it was the McLeod water main feeder broke. And it's been going on, and it came to a head in 2024 in the summer when Calgarians had to face water restrictions. And it's happened again. It is unacceptable, and I think that the city came up with this Kiefer report And the report underlined the failure of risk management. Governance systems were inappropriate in dealing with this vulnerability, and I think Calgarians are paying the price. So this I think new review by the province is warranted, and hopefully they'll get to the bottom of it and help address this major challenge facing Calgarians.
Jim, on that point of getting to the bottom of it, surprised this investigation would have more authority to compel evidence than the one into government dealings on multi-million-dollar health service contracts.
Absolutely. And I think it comes down to who they anticipate will be at fault here. When they can blame municipal employees, the former mayor, Nenshi, of course, if they can bring that onto his plate. Whereas in the Alberta Health Services debacle, it really is the premier that's responsible, and the premiers that being pointed at and said, well, these are inappropriate approaches. You know, there's lots of information on the AHS scandal that had to be brought out, and by not having a proper investigation, it's going to fester and it's going to not be divulged as thoroughly as they can. Whereas to do a second review of Calgary's water main issues, it just seems like such a waste of money, taxpayers' money.
Chaldeans, how political do you see this potentially getting? And will it be a politician who may ultimately wear responsibility?
Oh, Michael, you can really see the tentacles of politics at play here. Clearly, I mean, this government wants to tag Naheed Nenshi with the Calgary water main problem issues. And I think this inquiry, this investigation, it will likely bring him into the fold and maybe take some of the responsibility. So there is a political motive here. And I think Mr. Nenshi should be prepared for a response because this is where this thing is headed. Likely will have political implications for the NDP leader.
All right, next up for us, public health advocacy groups rallying against Alberta opening the door to a public-private system.
I know that it works in some European countries. They have massively robust healthcare systems that are fully funded, and there's just not the concerns that we've been having here. I think that we have so much influence from the U.S. coming in to privatize our healthcare and bring in private insurance.
The Health Statutes Amendment Act, better known as Bill 11, will allow doctors to work in both public and private settings. On Monday, protests, that is, were held not only in Calgary and Edmonton, but outside MP offices in Ontario, Montreal, Winnipeg, and Vancouver, among others, in hopes of drawing federal government attention to their concerns. Jim, what's to be made of the hue and cry building across the country to Alberta's Bill 11 move?
I really think that Canadians define themselves by their so-called free healthcare. Of course, we know it's not free, but by having healthcare that's provided for by the provinces. I think that's fundamental to our beliefs. And when you split the system, you know, when Daniel Smith reorganized AHS, 2023 in September, she said this is not about privatizing healthcare. And yet we see all the moves since then of privatizing healthcare. And it just seems like such an issue. One of the big concerns, of course, here is that you're not adding any resources. You're simply separating the doctors out and saying, now you can work in either system, but we're not adding any resources. So how would you reduce the backlog of surgeries if you don't add any resources to it? It's just sort of ludicrous.
Chaldeans, how likely is the federal government to not only take notice of Monday's protests, but potentially step in, take a hard look at what the Alberta government is undertaking here and how it plays with the Canada Health Act?
Well, Michael, the federal government has been lacking in a response because similar practices have been taking place in Quebec and New Brunswick, and they haven't really come up with a robust response to it. But I think that when Alberta is involved, there's likely to be some kind of a response. But look, this hybrid model it's been used all over the world. Used in UK, Netherlands, Australia, and elsewhere. The thing is, Bill 11 appears to preserve the Canadian public health guarantee that the Premier promised. But people are indeed concerned to want to make sure that it doesn't move into a two-tier system. But certainly, there needs to be some work done to make sure that whatever practices are introduced, with physicians allowing to work in the public and in the private system, does not really create opportunities for a two-tier system. But I'm very confident, given the way the legislation is written, that the public healthcare system is going to be guaranteed. And I'm hopeful that the federal government doesn't need to step in, because it hasn't stepped in with the other cases, and to be a kind of a double standard to step in here when Alberta is trying to find innovation to deal with wait times and accessibility in the province.
Well, and maybe as a last thought on that, on some of that point there, Jim, what's riding on how the Smith government ultimately implements this bill into law, which is expected to happen through the year?
Well, I think it'll be a test case, of course, but the government seems to have self-fulfilling prophecies where they believe things are right, even though Albertans have said time and again, we don't want this. It's like political parties in the municipalities. People said we don't want it, but they decided that they were going to experiment with it and put it in place. It's like changing the RCMP from the provincial police force to a provincial paid police force. People said, no, we don't want it, and yet they keep hammering on it. They don't seem to be in a position where they haven't been elected on these changes or policies. They just seem to want to plow forward with them no matter what the public wants.
All right, time for us to take a bit of a break, but when we come back, weighing the politics of winning the World Cup of Hockey bid. More from our panel in a moment. Welcome back. We heard from Edmonton Mayor Andrew Knack off the top discussing the successful bid that will see Alberta's two big cities jointly sharing host responsibilities for the North American element of the 2028 World Cup of Hockey, including the semifinal and final games being played in Edmonton. Chaldeans, what kind of a victory is this where Alberta generally is concerned? Is the potential payoff here worth the effort?
Oh, Michael, definitely worth the effort. This is an event that is going to highlight the province. We have two host cities here, in addition to, of course, the European counterpart, Prague in Czechia. So, yes, it will highlight the province, promote tourism, and also generate economic benefits for different sectors like restaurants, hotels. And I'm really pleased with the response of the Edmonton Mayor, Knack. See him in a very promotional phase for the city. Yes, this is a big event. It is equivalent to what you call the World Cup of Soccer, in the hockey realm. So yeah, it will be an opportunity for the best of the best in this field to display their competitiveness in Edmonton and Calgary.
Okay, so Jim, definitely a big event. How warranted then is the commitment of millions in funding from the Alberta and federal governments?
Yeah, I think the commitment from the province of 15 million and from the feds 4 million or something is
I think it's about
really
8
peanuts
million.
when you consider the benefits they're going to get from it. It's really going to be to their advantage. When you look at the size of the market, it's typical that they would go to Toronto or Montreal for something of this nature. But this has been a great opportunity for Alberta to really profile themselves and get a little bit of the gravy that we need for more tourism and to market ourselves very effectively at a pretty minimal cost. And lots of folks within those two communities and Alberta generally will benefit from this entire operation.
Chaldeans, what kind of a political win is this for the varied players involved? Albertans certainly saw three levels of government sharing the stage on Monday and the spotlight of a winning bid.
Well, Michael, the relationship between the big cities and the province hasn't been solid over the years. So no, to have this opportunity for them to come together around a shared promotion of this event, and also work in concert with the Carney government. Mr. Carney is a big hockey fan, so having the 3 tiers of government working together on a common issue to bring this home to Alberta, I think it's very positive, and there's going to be all kinds of political benefits, when this event is held, and probably for Canada to avenge that painful defeat that we suffered in the Olympics.
Jim, anything to be read into the Premier donning the Team Canada jersey? How do you see that going over with some in the province?
Well, I thought there would be lightning strikes at the time when that occurred, but obviously she survived, which is really, really good. There's got to be people within her base that are rejecting this aspect when they see this, the optics of this, of course. But, she's appeased the base so much that she can only, how can they deny that this is going to benefit the province? And even if the province is independent, as someone wanted, well, that would still be a benefit to them. So I think she's got a win-win situation, even though she has to be on the stage with federal politicians and shake hands, et cetera, et cetera. That's what politicians do.
Geraldine, should it be that the separation petition currently gathering signatures meets the bar? And I believe that's at the beginning of May that test will happen. How do you see a resulting referendum on separation playing into the conversation of Alberta hosting the World Cup of Hockey?
Look, this separation issue is going to run out of steam very quickly. Look, I don't see, when I look at the situation on the ground politically, I don't see any groundswell for Alberta leaving Canada. Having said that, I think, sure, people have the right to exercise themselves. They have grievances, and this is an opportunity for them to vent and to maybe express themselves. But hockey, this is a Hockey Canada event, Team Canada event, and the separatists will be on board in supporting the Canadian side. I don't think the separation thing is going to go anywhere, in my view, but it will give Alberta a bit of leverage because the other provinces will be considering some of the issues of concern here in the province.
Jim, I'll give you a last word. Does hockey supersede separation?
Hockey and healthcare is what unite this country, and we've lived by that rule for many, many eons, and I think we'll probably continue to rule that way.
All right, gentlemen, we'll leave it there for time. Great to see you both. Thank you kindly for this.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Michael.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you.
Now, here are a few responses to a recent story posted by CTV News, and it's about U.S. President Donald Trump doubling down on demands NATO allies help secure the Strait of Hormuz as conflict in the Middle East continues to rage on. T says, sorry, I'm confused. I thought he said he didn't need anything from anybody. Mosaic writes, he's been threatening our sovereignty for over a year. Why would we sacrifice our men and women for his profits? Rich thinks Canada can best help by building more pipelines and refineries. Doshel says, as much as I want peace in the world, seeing Trump sweat is joyful. Darlene writes, no one wants to help him after everything he has said and done. Have your say. Email us anytime at comments@albertaprimetime.com. Coming up tomorrow, weighing the expected financial impact of the World Cup of Hockey and the need for millions in government support. We will hear from economist Moshe Lander on Wednesday. Until then, have a great evening, everyone. From all of us at Alberta Primetime, thank you for watching, and join us again next time.